Good evening. This is Larry Lady, Associated Press with Edith Bates, mother of Imani Bates. Good evening. How are you?
Good.
So how did you meet EJ?
We met in the gym, but we didn't technically meet. I saw EJ, he had his shirt off. He's playing basketball, he's playing with my older brother. And at that time, he was off limits to me. But it was then that I actually noticed EJ. Years later, down the road, he and my brother got very close, became best friends, and that's when we actually started dating.
What grade was he in? What grade were
No,
you in?
it wasn't a grade. It was a, not a adult league. We just happened to cross paths again once I got older, and that was legal. And I think that we are definitely soulmates. Once we crossed paths again later on down the line, we went for it and been together ever since.
Tell us about your childhood, where you grew up, where you went to school, what your interests were, activities.
I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right off Pioneer Trail. I went to Logan, Clegg, and then Huron. I did play basketball, and I was a cheerleader. I ran track. Nothing extensive. When it comes to basketball, particularly, I did play center. And I was pretty aggressive there. So.
Did you play at Huron?
Yes, I did, my 9th grade year.
But not 10th, 11th, 12th?
No, after that, it was all academics. I was really highly driven with my academics.
There's so much attention on Imani now. What do you want people to know about your son that maybe they wouldn't see at a basketball game, that they might catch him, or an article they might read about him? Right
now, I want them to first and foremost see him as the 13-year-old that he is. He has a lot of development to go through. And from a mother's perspective, I feel like he has the world on his shoulders, and he's handling it very well. But I want them to see him as an adolescent who's growing and developing. EJ says that you switch roles sometimes, good cop, bad cop. How does that play out in terms of when you switch roles, who's the good cop and bad cop depending on the situation? Mom is always the bad cop, and I'm okay with that because I bring him balance. EJ spends a lot of time in the gym with Imani. I don't. I'm the person watching from the kitchen window while he's out there back on the court. I'm the person who actually gets to see that development happen. Like, EJ's with him all the time, so he might not see it how I see it. Like when he's working on something, he puts his mind on something. As far as like when he first learned how to dunk, I watched the process when he would come in the house and his hands are all tore up from him trying to get the rim to the point where he was just doing it with ease. And I got to watch that from the window. And EJ may not have seen it from that lens because he's with him all the time. So when do you remember Imani dunking for the first time? He's now 13, 8th grader. It was last summer. It was last summer. And the thing is, whatever he puts his mind to, he accomplishes that. And that's something I really love. That's something I really love about Imani, his determination. The basketball side of it, how much do you get involved in terms of decisions and you know, the basketball side of it, or is it all EJ? No, it's definitely a team. I'm part of most of it. As far as him running it, yeah, that's EJ, but I definitely have say-so on a lot of things that happen. One of the big decisions that the family will have to make in the next year is where he's going to high school next year. What is important to you? Talk about what some options may be locally and otherwise. Well, of course, academics are important to me, but it's also all about balance. Imani is a talented young man. He will play a major part in the decision because he's going to have to live with it down the road. But it's going to be balanced. It's not going to be something he makes a decision based on, I don't know, like the celebrity part of it. I don't want it to be anything like that. I want it to be based on the long run when he makes the decision. If the best thing for him, if the family decides that's for him to like go out of state, is that even on the table for you as a mom, or do you want him definitely to stay in the area? It depends. So? I mean, there's a lot of different things on the table, so right. It all depends, yeah. Right. When did you think or know he was going to be a special basketball player? I think I knew Imani was going to be special, period, from when he was younger, and he would emulate movies that he would watch, like all the way down to the costumes. I knew that whatever he put his mind to, he was going to be able to do, and he's figured that out himself. My grandmother used to always say that his hands were large, and we knew then he was going to be tall. But when he actually started picking up the basketball and playing with his dad and actually getting into it, I knew he was going to be great if he just pushed forward with it. And the picture with the ball, I mean, I've heard from other people too, where he always had to have a ball. Yes. What do you remember about that? Yeah, the ball. The ball. Hey, but yeah, he always had a ball in his hand, and it's just how what I think about when I think about the ball when he was younger is the back of the door, hitting the door early in the morning, because he's like he lived it, he breathed it, everything was basketball. So it was a big part of Imani.
With his fame in basketball, what's it like to be his mom in the stands or in the hallway when people don't know that you're his mom and they're talking about him?
Yeah, that's the thing is, Imani always shows up. So I've had instances where I'm sitting in the stands and there's like derogatory comments about him, and then, you know, he comes out with this big bang, and it's like, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for me to say anything because he shows it on the court.
Right. I mean, we heard it the other night where some parents were, you know, because Imani got physical and emotional, and there was a lot of chirping, and parents that were like hollering at him, just play Imani, like, you know, like he's grown. Yeah. And then he made a crazy shot, and they're like, wow. Right. They don't really have anything else to say. Yes,
people do tend to forget his age. He is only 13 years old, and there are grown adults that sometimes it's like the length that they go to of what they'll say to him, even on social media. It's amazing sometimes. And as his mother, I tend to shy away from those things because I'm going to automatically be protective of him. It's my nature. EJ handles that much better than I do.
How do you handle that? Is the segue to you know, social media. What do you think or want to be how he and EJ and the family handle it? Because when you put yourself out there, you also allow people to come back at you, right? If you choose to do that. And so far it seems like they have, you know, answered critics on social media. Like, are you okay with that too, or you wish they would lay low? Or
I can't control outside forces, but all I can tell my son is that when you allow that negativity into your space, he has to deal with it. I don't have a social media. I'm private. I don't like it. And once Imani did start being on social media, I can see it took a toll on his performance, because he started performing for all the wrong reasons. Not because he loved the game, but because he felt like he had to prove himself to them. And that's what I told him. I wanted him to get back to how you used to be, just worried about, you know, improving your game.
Do you monitor it now, even though you're not on it?
My husband does.
Right.
It really is too personal for me. Like, I can't double dabble with the social media stuff.
With all the snakes or people in the world that are going to come at Imani and you and EJ, how do you plan or hope to cope with that? Because now we're seeing, you know, highly touted players are now caught up in, you know, all kinds of scandals around college basketball now, because there's so much money to be made, whether it's a shoe company or a charter school, prep school, AAU teams, colleges. How do you handle that as a mom, or hope to handle that?
How we handle it now is we keep our foundation grounded at home, and I'm definitely that balance at home. Emoni Bates is just my son to me. Everybody, when he walks out that door, you know, his height, all those things. What I see when I see Imani, I just see Emoni Bates. I keep him grounded. He and our dad are on the same team. I know sometimes basketball tends to pull him away, but I always pull him back in. And that's his reality check. So that's how we handle that. Keeping him grounded at home will help him make the best decisions dealing with the outside.
How would you describe him as a student? What does he do well and easy, and what's a challenge?
Focusing is the challenge for Imani if he's not interested in the subject, but I think that's any teen. When we recently visited his school, his science teacher, she knows how to keep the kids involved with exciting assignments, and that's something I think he appreciates. So Imani does like science. He likes math when he has the right teacher. So basically anything Imani puts his mind to, he can do it, but he has to be interested in it. And sometimes, you know, the topics are not that interesting. Even as an adult, I know that.
Right. What do you know, Imani seems to be relatively quiet away from the court, you know, pretty normal kid. On the court, he flips a switch where he's very aggressive and chirps and is physical. What do you think of that transformation, and is it just part of who he is?
I just think it's part of his game, you know. This is his alter ego when he's on the court, because he's very soft-spoken and has a very loving heart, a big heart off the court. And I like to watch him, and you know, there's just certain things he has to contain. But other than that, he's out there performing, and is he doing something he's loving? He's passionate about it.
the family has allowed us to be along for this journey. What do you hope people get out of this story now and down the road as you give them a peek?
Just to see it from the perspective of a young adolescent being in the limelight, and being so young and handling it so well and being so humble. He has a lot to learn. He's come up so far. Even look at his interviews, like I commend Imani. I think people really tend to forget that he's only 13 right now. So I want them to see him as the young athlete growing up, reaching for his dreams and doing what he loves.
And we keep talking about what an incredible basketball player he is and how much work he puts into his game.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways is he a kid? I mean, he told us he likes Despicable Me.
Yes.
Like, in what ways, we don't, how does he show himself to be a 13-year-old?
Imani's very funny. He likes to play a lot of jokes. He does, our downtime together is laying down watching the movies that he likes.
Like?
What did we just watch about? Because he was singing the songs and everything. Moana, The Lion King, we both love The Lion King. The Cruise, that's a hilarious movie. And we'll lay back there just watching movies, eating popcorn and laughing. And those are the moments I cherish most. That's when he's able to be vulnerable and be himself, and he doesn't have to have his guard up or anything. He can just be Imani, playing around with his cousins. Like, that's an atmosphere you have to see him in. All the joking, laughing they do amongst one another.
The first afternoon I spent any time with him, right away he struck me as a kid in 7th grade because he wanted his cousin to be able to come hang out before he had basketball. And when I offered to buy lunch, they picked Wendy's.
Yeah. Yes, Wendy's. That's his favorite place, Wendy's. He loves chicken nuggets. And now I'm trying to get him into eating the things that are going to stick to his bones because he's so slender. So we're trying to beef him up.
What do you try to feed him to beef him up? What are his go-tos? What will he eat or not eat?
He does like rice. He loves green beans. He loves macaroni and cheese, and he loves chicken. I just try to give him a variety. I try to, expand that palate a little bit. He's young, so I understand.
I have a son like that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
We thank you for listening. That was Edith Bates, mother of Emoni Bates, and I'm Larry Lage with the AP.